Good morning, it's Monday, it's freezing cold. I say freezing, it's 2.5 degrees. So it's quite nippy here in Hertfordshire in the UK. The sun is not out yet today, it's very, very cloudy, very, very chilly. And we are at the start of another new week. Do grab yourselves a super cosy drink, a blanket, and hopefully you are at home and can settle in because we have got another very wintry vlog. When you watch this, we will be so close to February. I cannot believe where January's gone. I always find it such a cosy season. I almost want to go against the grain being that we all tend to think that January is a very difficult month. If you can embrace the slowness, and if you're somebody who enjoys that very cosy, wholesome lifestyle, January happens to be one of the best months in the whole year. Out on a little walk this morning, I thought it would be good just to breathe in. Wow. I'm just looking through the trees here at the sheep. They're actually quite close today. They're all feeding. So where was I? I have absolutely no idea. As soon as I get outside, I just can't help it. My eyes look everywhere. I am constantly looking for birds. I'm constantly looking for nature. I'm constantly looking for drips on the trees. Where I'm walking is a cycle route. So you get lots of cyclists, runners, walkers, dog walkers. It's a lovely, busy route. It's so nice to say hello and good morning to people. I feel like I've had some interaction of the day then. There are some days when you work for yourself that you can go for a whole day and not talk to anybody. Is anybody in the same situation where you have a job, you work from home, and you realise that by the end of the day, you've not really had a conversation with any other adults, especially if you're self-employed. There can be days, not today because I'm teaching today, but there can be days, particularly days when I am working on my vintage dress business. It's a very solitary job, so I pretty much can have a day of just being on my own. As soon as GB gets back in though from work, I am like this, and I think it's just because I haven't spoken to anybody all day. Just here is the bird hideout, and I may stop there on the way back. All the little birds are waking up. Morning. You may have noticed that I haven't been vlogging so much over the weekend. There isn't any real reason for that other than I am trying a little bit of a new routine. It does mean that my weeks are a little bit busier, but it does free up the weekends for GB and I. I think in January and in February, we very much hibernate, and our routine at the weekend is very much one of the same. Do you know what I mean? So are you similar? You may have noticed that I'm just down here by the bird hideout, and there's just so many birds to be looking at. Seagull, that one was. Can you hear the seagulls? We don't live by the sea. I have heard though that since lockdown, seagulls were struggling to find so much food by the seasides because there wasn't anybody there when we was in real lockdown, and that they had to come out more inland and decided to stay. When we first started hearing them, it was a real novelty because we just didn't ever hear seagulls unless you were by the seaside, but they do seem to be more of a regular occurrence these days. So the weekend was quite a chilled one. We went over to Groundworks in Hitchin on Saturday. I think that it's possibly my most favourite breakfast in town, although that is a hard shout because there's loads of independents over in town that are equally as delicious. But Groundworks do a French toast and they change it up each season. At the moment it is a winter pear French toast, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really being that good at the moment. My exercise is getting back on track, but food wise I feel like this time of year I just want comfort, and I'm going to allow myself that because it is January and then into February, and it's really difficult, isn't it, in January and February to... I'm eating clean and I'm eating wholesome food, but I'm craving the comfort. I'm craving French toast with mascarpone and poached pear. Oh, just the dream. And on Saturday morning I just thought, that's what I'm going to have. So I had it and it was delicious and I don't regret it one little bit. You can hear the sheep. We're just heading back actually. We caught up with some friends as well on Saturday, and it's always good as part of our routine at the weekend to check in with everybody, see how their weeks were, have a lovely coffee and just a natter. And I think that that has been a routine of ours for around 15, 16 years. On a Saturday morning, you just know, you don't even have to text. You know that if we are around, we'll meet up. And we even know the coffee shops to hunt one another down in. You sort of dip in and dip out depending on who's around, who's about to catch up. So that was really nice. I had a mooch around the charity shops, although I didn't find anything. That's the thing though, isn't it? You can go into a thrift store but not know whether you are going to find anything. I spoke to Mrs. P over the weekend. She was also over in some of the charity shops and she didn't find anything either. You would think that January, everybody's having a clear out and all the good things would be out and there would be lots to rummage through, but no, there wasn't this week. You can hear the seagulls. By mid-Saturday afternoon, GB and I were home. We walked over the front door, turned the door, locked the door, looked at one another and said, we're in. And it's the best feeling, isn't it, when you just know you are in for the afternoon and the evening and you don't need to go out anywhere. So do you know what? I put my pyjamas on and I am not ashamed. I got so snuggly. Wow, it's just wonderful down here. I'm just walking down a little bit further than I normally do. I was just wondering what is further down towards the farm. Thought you might see the sheep down here, but you don't. Morning. You may remember me saying about Daniel coming over to help us out to create a new shoe cupboard. So he arrived on Sunday and got to work. It is looking wonderful so far. I'll show you that when we're back. But GB and I just had a cosy morning, lovely coffee, and of course, because we had a workman over, I had to make a cake. So I made an orange cake. It was absolutely delicious. Are you the same as me? Because I knew that we had Daniel coming over to work in the shoe cupboard and redesign it for us, I thought I'm either going to have the best biscuits in or make a cake. It was just one of those right packets actually, really, really easy, and it gives the impression that you've made a cake, but in fact all you've done is add oil and water. Popped to my sister's for an early Sunday roast. I love having a roast dinner at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. It gives you then the whole afternoon and the evening to rest and sleep it off. Probably been out for around 30 minutes. It's been wonderful, just stretching my legs, hearing the birds sing, and just giving myself a really good positive start to the day. I'm just in from that really beautiful walk. It's still 2.5 degrees here, so it's still very, very cold. My fingers are just beginning to warm up. You know, when you walk into the home, the heating's on. GB's working at home today, so the heating is on. So it's lovely and toasty inside, and I can just begin to feel my fingers thawing out. I'm actually quite surprised though this morning, because I did think that there would be a frost. We saw the gritter go past last night, and we both said, oh, we'll probably wake up to a white frost in the morning, but no, we haven't. But as I say, it was beautiful. Birds were singing, I could hear the sheep talking to one another, and I just felt like it was a few moments to myself before a busy day ahead. I'm going to run through my loose plan for today. I do try and plan my days if I can, but the first thing I always do in the morning, if I've been out for a walk and I've got in, I'm sure you all know what that is, I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee this morning. Just seen the postman, which means he's going up the street and then back. I have got a few orders to wrap up, so I definitely need to do that. So let's crack on. I'm going to have to prioritise here. Coffee first, GB coffee. Let's do the vintage dresses first. Get those wrapped ready for the postman. Beautiful vintage Laura Ashley dress. I've got some new stock to show you, and there's lots more happening in the day, but I feel like we'll get that coffee, get the dress wrapped, and then I can chat to you about the plans. Today I am wrapping up a beautiful vintage Laura Ashley cerise red fit and flare low bow back dress, and it is absolutely stunning. Normally when I see the postman walk past, it gives me around 45 minutes just to make sure that the dress is wrapped in the most pristine way that I can, and that everything ticks the boxes ready for the customer. Talking about vintage dresses, today I have got two vintage Liberty winter floral dresses to share with you. They're yet to go into store, but I thought you may like a sneaky peek. I love dresses with a bow back. I think that there's something so classic about wearing a dress with a classic bow at the back. Right, I'm going to crack on and get this done. I've got quite a busy day on today. It is a working day, so I was teaching this morning. I'm teaching after school as well. There are vintage dresses to look at. So these dresses, as I mentioned, are yet to go into the store, but they need to be looked at to make sure that they are excellent quality and ready to go into the shop. We'll look at the progress with the shoe cupboard, and we may need to go out and about just for a few bits for in there. We also need to do a small food shop today, put all of the food away, make a dinner, and then I am teaching again after school. I've also got aqua tonight at 6:30, so I've got quite a busy day. I've seen the postman, he's in the very close vicinity, so I think the doorbell is going to ring any minute now. Whilst we're waiting for the postman, I thought we would... He's here. Morning, I managed to get this wrapped just in time. Okay, thank you so much. Take care, bye. That is a little win of the day. I managed to get that parcel wrapped, I would say, within 4 or 5 minutes of the postman arriving. So it's time for a little coffee break, I think, and then I can't wait to share these vintage Liberty woolen dresses with you. Oh dear, a coffee makes everything better, doesn't it? I love to carve out just a few moments of just me and my coffee. What's your warm drink of choice? Are you a coffee lover? Do you love a good cuppa, a cup of tea? Are you a herbal tea person, green tea? Are you hot water and lemon? It's meant to be wonderful for your skin, isn't it? Let's just put that seed back in my head. I feel like that is definitely doable. Right, starting tomorrow, I am going to have a hot lemon before I even have a coffee. Let's put this drink down somewhere safe, away from the dresses. I'll iron them and then I will show you them. Can't wait for you to see them. They are absolutely beautiful. So the dresses have been very, very carefully washed. So this one is pure wool. It's now having its inspection. You can see the Liberty label here. So there's the Vintage Liberty London label. That's all intact. I have clients that collect Liberty dresses and they have to have the label in. Other customers are happy just to trust my professionalism in the fact that I know it's a Liberty dress, and you'll see that with the next one. What I'm doing here is I'm closely just inspecting the dress, particularly in places like the zip. So we actually do have something here that I need to inspect further. Let me show you this. The zip area always requires close inspection. You can see here that there is some slight fraying to the fabric. So there's a hole there that will require a stitch, which obviously takes time. If you work in vintage or you love vintage clothing, it's one of those things that you know that you have to check whenever you buy a vintage purchase. I'm already doing that work for my clients. So when they receive an item from my shop, they're receiving it in its most pristine condition that it can possibly be. Sometimes vintage dresses will have repairs. That's the nature of vintage, particularly with something like pure wool. You really need to give it an extra inspection, and the reason for that is moths. Moths love pure wool, so dresses like this have to be stored correctly. The vintage Liberty dresses are so desirable. It can take me ages to source down the dresses that I'm looking for, and my vintage collection is very much based upon classic British brands that will last, excellent quality. They often have a very fit and flare feminine shape. The dresses that you can feel wonderful in, very, very feminine. I stock a lot of vintage cocktail dresses for evenings, for events, for weddings, but I also stock the most beautiful vintage collection of day dresses, and this is definitely a stunning day dress. Love it. Sip of coffee before I start my next one. The business was set up in 2017 and it was called My Vintage Dress Stall. So during that year, my sister and I spent time exploring vintage and finding out about vintage fashion. We were both very much interested in it and enjoyed hunting down vintage dresses all over the country, whether it be a fair or sourcing them through vintage events. I remember counting up my dresses once, and the count was 157 summer dresses, most of them being vintage, a few high street, but most of them being vintage. And I thought to myself, I've got an idea here. I could open a vintage dress shop just specialising in dresses, not shoes, not bags, not skirts, just dresses. Because what am I going to do with my collection once I've finished with it? I knew that they could live on and I could help clients find dresses for events, dresses for occasions, day dresses, etc., etc. We sold our first dress 1 week before our mum passed away, and she knew about it and she was incredibly excited. And actually, mum was going to take on a part of the business that would have suited her down to the ground. Mum was going to be the seamstress. She was going to iron and wash the dresses, and it would have suited her so well, and she was so excited about it. Mum loved fashion just as much as my sister and I do, and she worked in fashion right up until she passed away. So I think taking this on, well, she would have definitely known more information than we did at this stage. She used to go into London and explore the vintage Liberty collection, Marion Donaldson dresses, and we also had a local Laura Ashley store in our town, and Mum absolutely loved Laura Ashley. I mean, I think lots of women did. Back in the 80s and the 90s, the Laura Ashley dresses were just so beautiful, and you do not see the quality like that on the high street. When we set up the business, my vintage dress stall, vintage was just beginning to really take off. It now is a whole fashion industry in itself. Some women will just wear vintage. I know that if I'm going to an occasion, a wedding, a christening, a meal out, cocktails with friends, I will always wear vintage. And one of the reasons I wear vintage is I feel fabulous wearing vintage dresses. I feel like nobody else is going to have the same dress as me. People will ask me where the dress is from, and it is very often showcased from my shop. It's great advertising. Wearing a dress from your collection will almost definitely sell before the evening is out. I'll let you into a little secret. I often take a spare dress or outfit in the car because the dress can sell on the evening and they want to do the exchange there and then. And that has happened several times. It is just the nature of vintage. People love the fact that the dress is unique, it's got history, it's got a story to tell, and there is truly something special about wearing a vintage dress. Let's get ironing the next dress and I'll tell you a little bit more about the business and what's happened to it since 2017. So let's start by sharing this dress with you. This is a vintage Liberty dress. This is handmade and it is a corduroy cotton fabric. It obviously hasn't got the vintage Liberty label, but I have been working in vintage long enough to know the vintage Liberty print. And isn't that just gorgeous? Years ago, women would walk into places like Liberty or Laura Ashley. They'd fall in love with a dress, although not have the money to pay for the price tag. So they would buy the fabric and they would teach themselves how to sew and create the dress for themselves. And what's great about that is that women would find the shape that they like of their dress and then repeat the dress but in several fabrics. My sister and I used to have quite a lot of dresses made. I remember my mum had bought my sister and I a Laura Ashley dress each, a wrap dress from the shop. And it was quite an easy dress for my mum to work out the panels. Being a wrap dress, a child has got a little bit more room to move and grow. We had those wrap dresses in quite a few prints. And I know that my sister watches the vlog, and bless her heart, she used to wear hers. And then as she got older, she would wear a hand-me-down, which was mine. So she quite often would wear the same style, same print dress for several years. But that is what we all did in the 80s and 90s. As I'm ironing the dress, I'm just checking it over for any holes. I'm checking the seam, making sure that it's not come apart. I have to say this one is in absolutely fabulous condition. So let's tell you a little bit more about the business and how it's grown over the years. So we had steady income for the first few years, and then of course we all went through lockdown and I had to close the store for a little while. When things reopened again after lockdown, my sister was very much taking a back step. Her work was becoming incredibly busy. Sales kept coming in and it was enough to keep me busy and keep buying and sourcing and repairing new stock. When you work in fashion, you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the love, you're in it for saving something so beautiful from going into landfill. I love the fabrics, I love the joy that it brings people, but it's not one of those businesses where you can become a millionaire, let's say. It's just not. It obviously takes a long time to source quality dresses, to repair dresses, to iron them, to wash them, to model them, to edit the photos, to upload them onto a platform. So I use Etsy. But the business was doing well, it was bringing me in a little bit of income, and more importantly, I was really enjoying exploring the history of the dresses and just saving little nuggets, little pieces of history that we have, particularly in the UK. I think there is something extra special about British vintage brands. They are desired all over the world, and quite a lot of the sales are international because it's really hard to find excellent quality vintage pieces. So fast forward to just after lockdown, when everything was opening up again, my phone went cha-ching, which is the sound it makes when I make a sale. And I had a quick look to see where the dress is going, and I always do that because I need to plan ahead. So like the dress that went off this morning was going off to Germany. There's one that I didn't get prepared today, which is going off to Italy tomorrow. So dresses are going off here, there and everywhere. And I know that if a dress needs to go internationally, I need a little bit more time. Anyway, I recognise the name of the person that bought the dress. I can't say who it is because I don't feel like that's fair to do that. But let's just say a very well-known celebrity in the UK, female celebrity, bought one of the dresses that was very, very her. And the shop then started to grow even more, which meant then that I could really focus in on the brands that I wanted to include in my shop, the qualities of fabric, and I was beginning then to really sieve through my stock. So looking at fabrics particularly, removing any synthetics, making sure that the dresses are of a really high standard, really desirable. As this happened, I felt like the name of my store needed changing because it was originally My Vintage Dress Stall. And I felt like the word stall didn't match the quality of the dresses in my shop. Obviously, you know that I love the seasons, and it is all focused on dresses. So I had a little bit of a play around with the words, and my shop name is now Seasonally Dressed. That really does suit the shop so well because you'll see in store that I've got an area for each season, so spring, summer, autumn, winter. I've also got cocktail dresses or party dresses. I have a Christmas dress selection for that time of year. So by now it was really beginning to grow even more. And I was noticing that the dresses were going off to theatres and productions. And there was one day that I had a real shock, let's say. It was a Friday afternoon. The world was beginning to open up from lockdown. The shop hadn't been open for very long. GB was in the office. I was hoovering in this main room around here, and my phone went cha-ching. And of course, I always go, yes, I've made a sale. What have I sold? Where is it going? I always get very, very excited about it. Even to this day, I get very excited. I opened it up and it was 6 1980s, very dressy taffeta ball gowns. And I thought to myself, why would somebody buy 6 ball gowns? So I went down a little bit further into the order, and the most exciting sale that I ever had, because this sale really did change the shop. So these 6 dresses were ordered by Netflix, the Crown costume department, and I almost fell to the floor because I couldn't believe that my dresses had been recognised. These dresses were going to be loved, lived on, and the history of them was going to be relived in such a popular Netflix series that is seen around the world. To this day, I just still can't believe it. I went running into GB and I said to him, I'm shaking, you won't believe what's happened. I said, I don't know 100%, but I think these are going, I was like out of breath. I think these are possibly going to The Crown, Netflix. So I obviously sent them an email like I do with all of my customers. And I had an email come back just to say, are you up for a phone call tomorrow? And from that day, they continued to buy dresses from the shop. And it became a routine, really, that when I had new stock come in, I would send them photos, measurements. They would decide whether it was something that they would need or not. It's all very overwhelming, to be quite honest with you. My background is in teaching. I'm an education advisor. I'm a trainer. I've worked in nurseries and preschools. I teach children now. My background isn't really in vintage, but I have taught myself along the way. And it really surprises me to this day that I'm doing this. Hi GB, are you coming through for lunch now? No, what would you like? Coffee?
I'm all coffeeed up.
Coffeeed up, love. Do you want a cup of tea? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Put the kettle on for you, lovey. How's your morning going? Always busy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You alright with some soup for lunch?
Yes. What sort of sweet is it?
Tomato.
Alright, I'm going to go back to work.
Okay. Just love that sound. Soup's nearly ready, and I am so pleased that so many of you love to add a good dollop of butter to your soup, because that is what I am going to do right now. I am going to cut off a good old knob of butter, pop it in there. There really is something about adding a good old dollop of butter to your soup. Just makes it taste so much better. This is a really easy soup recipe. I tend to use fresh tomatoes, but you can use tinned. And that video is over on the channel now. Five minutes! He's not coming back. Let's see if we do it again. Here he comes.
That knock usually means you're naked waiting for it.
It's not long, love, it's not long. I'll just check the butter again. 2 minutes. I'm just looking out of the window and we have not seen the sunshine yet all day. It's actually quite dark. I've had to put the kitchen lights on for when we had our lunch. That soup today, I think, was possibly the best tomato soup that we've had for a long time. It almost had quite a sweet taste. It's been sitting in the freezer for quite some time, and I'm wondering whether all of the ingredients have really gelled and infused together just to make that extra yummy. But definitely recommend that recipe if you're keen to try your own tomato soup. Just a great one to have in the freezer for days like today. I think I'll make GB and I probably a decaf coffee each. And do you remember earlier I was talking about like naughty treats over January and it just being that sort of weather? I bought something over the weekend and I think we just have a couple left. I bought these M&S Rocky Road pieces. These were bought to go to my sister's house over the weekend. Whilst we were there, we probably enjoyed half the box, and my sister's fiance said, you better take those back home with you, and I think we may have just a couple left. So let's make a coffee and enjoy the last couple of pieces of Rocky Road. I'm hoping that there's two. Is there two in here? Let's have a quick look. Yes, there is. However, there is one larger piece and one smaller piece. Say A or B?
A, B. I'll have C, please. Which one's got the biggest piece of cake on it?
That's why I'm doing A or B.
Which one's got the biggest cake, and I'll let you know what I'm going to choose then.
My last coffee of the day. This one is a decaf. I've got a tiny little bit of orange cake here and the smallest piece of Rocky Road. You can imagine which piece GB managed to get hold of. Well, the afternoon is here. I need to wash up those few bits from lunch. I'm going to show you the shoe cupboard and then we are heading out because I need to pick up a few bits for that smaller space and grab some food for the evening. You'll remember how it looked before. It had the very narrow IKEA shoe shelving in. Let's bring you a little bit closer so that you can properly see. At the moment we've got 3 of the 4 shelves put in. We've got obstacles in this cupboard because there's obviously pipes at the back. There's something there that I have no idea what it is. Pipes on the side because this is where our water tank is. We want the shelving to be able to come in and out. So that is what we're currently working on. I've just got my glasses on because when we go out we are going to source some paint. I think I'm just going to go for the same colour that we have in our hallway, but also I'm going to start thinking about baskets or something to go at the bottom. We would like to store shoes going down, flip-flops and things like that. It would be easier to have in a basket. I've just pulled up to B&M. I've got my dressmaker's tape measure, which will help me when I'm measuring up the baskets. So I'm hoping to have a look at baskets in here and also pick up the paint so that I can just refresh that cupboard area because over years it's really been neglected. So that needs a good old lick of paint, baskets hopefully if I can find some. But you know I was saying earlier that I get the excitement when I hear my phone go cha-ching. Well, that happened on the journey here and I've just had a quick look and it is another beautiful dress. It's a vintage Laura Ashley, black velvet, ginormous gold bow back cocktail dress, and it is the dream. Honestly, it is such a stunning dress. I've always loved that dress. I've been trying to source that particular dress for around 3 years, so I was so glad when I managed to get my hands on it, and it's going to be a very reluctant sale, but I know that the customer, UK based this time, I know that the customer will just make so many happy memories in it. It's such a wonderful dress. Let's get inside. It's just gone 1:30. Time is cracking on. I am teaching after school today, so I really want to pop in here and then just do a quick food shop. Down in the paint section we're looking for natural Hessian but not silk. I want the matte one. Oh, there it is. Natural Hessian. I'm sure that's the brand. I just don't seem to have very many wicker baskets. They normally do, like the storage baskets. I can't see them anywhere in store. There's some storage baskets up here. Nothing that's suitable though. There's children's ones. They're very cute, but not ideal for us. Got a couple of these ones at home. Not ideal for shoes though. That was a bit quicker than I expected. I managed to pick up the paint and mini rollers as well as a paintbrush for edging. But unfortunately, I was really quite disappointed with their baskets. Normally this B&M has quite a range, almost like an aisle of baskets. I think that was the right size or the right material. So when I go back to IKEA on Wednesday just to return a few bits, I'll have a great look there at the baskets. I remember there being so many, and I'm visualising a few now, but I'm hoping that the measurements will work, because as I said, that bottom area of the shoe cupboard, we want to store shoes in vertically just to save space really. So that will be interesting to see what they've got. GB has seen something online which may or may not do the trick. I'm not too sure yet. There is some new stock in B&M at the moment, just so you know. They are getting spring things in. I saw some beautiful candles, loved them. I did put one in my basket, but as you know, I really am thinking, do I need it? Does it serve a purpose? Do I want it? And this just ticked the box of, do I want it? So I actually put it back, and I'm feeling quite proud of myself. I mean, I probably will be thinking about that candle whilst I'm doing aqua tonight, but I know I've done the right thing. I'm going to do a quick dash around the supermarket now, so I'll see you when I'm back home. .5 degrees at the moment in the car, so that's actually warmed up, because when I got in the car it was 2.5 and now it's 3.5, so it's warmed up by a degree. Won't stay like that though, because evening is upon us. I did hear on the radio yesterday that some places may be treated to some snow. That will be nice. I'm home. Oh, that feeling of getting the shopping in and just knowing that you've got food for the next few days just feels amazing. These bags, I don't know if you can see them there. Let me just see that you can. I talked about these carry bags in my last vlog from IKEA, and I explained that they went huge. They are absolutely fantastic. When I go back this week, I'm going to buy myself a few more, because you've got these big ones, and then I mentioned about the smaller ones. The smaller ones like this are probably best in a pantry or something like that, but you can see how huge these bags grow. I'll unpack. I won't show you everything today. I'm just going to show you what meals we've got planned for the next few nights, and then if there's time before I start teaching, we'll crack on with preparing the meal for this evening. I love trying to get our main meal on the go nice and early so it's ready when we are. I'm off to Aqua tonight, so by the time I get in I'll be starving, won't want to cook a main meal then, and also just having that aroma of dinner throughout the home this afternoon will just be so nice. It always makes us extra hungry.
You bring me home. You bring me
The smell of basil smells so good. Of course, I had to treat us to some daffodils. They are such a wonderful pop of colour this time of year when we're all hanging out for spring. These really do put a smile on my face. Yorkshire tea, GB's absolute favourite breakfast tea. That's the carrier bags back down to size. String bags, honestly, they just expand so much. They are such a great buy. Lentil and tea to put in glass jars. That's for dinner tonight, that's for dinner tonight, so is that. I'm hoping tonight to try a new recipe, a layered smoked salmon bake. It's a Waitrose recipe that I saw online. Really simple ingredients. So hopefully in a few moments we can give that a go. Another meal that we're going to have this week is sourdough toast, fried mushrooms, fried tomatoes in a balsamic sauce, and then a dollop of hummus. So good, it's so good. I did pick up some lemons. I'm going to try and have lemon and hot water in the morning before coffee. I feel like that would be a really good next step for me. I'll quickly put this stuff away. So I've just started preparing our dinner. Tonight we're going for that Waitrose recipe, a layered salmon bake. So boiling away are 500 grams of thinly sliced potatoes. I have also cut up and started to fry 1 onion, and we're just about ready to make the sauce. Half a cup of milk, 1/3 of a cup of double cream. To that we're going to add some salt and pepper, and then a herb. The recipe suggests dill, or you could use parsley. We're going to use some parsley. Parsley always works well with fish, and we're going to give that a good stir. I've actually not tried this recipe before, but it looks super quick and super easy, and that's what you need on Monday evening. It won't be long and I'll be teaching, so this will be really nice to have on the go. The last bit of the cream out there. Let's tidy up a bit. Right, let's just check on the onions. The recipe says that you can layer these straight into the bake. I'm just frying them off very quickly just to get them started really. The potatoes need to be on really until they're tender. They're looking good. I'll give those a few more minutes. I'm going to use my time wisely whilst the potatoes carry on. I'm just going to grate some cheese ready for the layers in the bake. This is a very quick cook. I hope this is going to be delicious. Oh, this looks good. Oh yeah, those potatoes are ready now. Let's take those off the heat. Now it's a simple case of layering up our bake. So we'll start with some potatoes at the bottom, and then some onions, salmon. This salmon's already cut perfectly. Add some of your sauce and repeat. Just spread these round so that you've got an even coverage. Wow, it looks amazing, doesn't it? Really quick, easy meal. Let's push all that down. We'll finish off with some cheese. That is ready for tonight's dinner. Well, dinner is prepared, which is wonderful. Just as I stood here, I have seen a little glimmer of the sunshine. It won't be around long because it's gone 3:30 already, and I am due to start teaching. I'll let you know how the meal goes. It just needs to be covered in tin foil for 25 minutes, taken out, tin foil removed, and then it needs to go back in for a further 15 just to make the top incredibly golden and delicious. Thanks thanks so much for spending the day with me. I feel like I've spent a day with friends, which has felt so nice. I would just love us all to meet up and have cups of tea and coffee and jammy dodgers and cakes, and everybody brings something that they love to bake, and then we could just sit and chat for hours. That's a lovely dream, and I really hope that that could happen one day. Well, I will see you all again on Saturday at 4 o'clock. It will be another spend the day with me, a very, very cosy day. I have got a few little jobs to do then, which I'll talk to you about on the day. But until then, take care, do keep in touch. I love hearing from you, and I will see you all on Saturday. Bye for now.